Yay, Jesus is born. Run, Herod is a maniac. That's our reading today, right? We get this great story about Jesus coming, and everybody's all excited, and Christmas, and yay, and now Holocaust. Which is what happened, right? This straight-up madman going around killing babies. That's what happened. We like to maybe forget about that part of Christmas. That Jesus came into the world because of death. And his very presence in the world does nothing other than, if only, addresses death. And we're all happy and we like to, celebrate and exchange these gifts, but we need to recognize that there is this power in the world. And that's why Jesus came, because he is the power and he has come into the world. And the world said, no, we don't want you. We want our own power. And this is exactly what Herod did. He said, aha, okay, so there's this God, and he thinks that he's all special. I'll show him special. I'll kill him. I don't know who he is, so I'll just kill everybody. That's how powerful Herod is. He can just kill everybody. And I don't want to dwell on this too much, but, when you think about the kind of orders that he had to give in order to make that happen, that is a really sick and a twisted world where he could just tell his men to go and slaughter babies, and they would say, yes, sir. That's a world where we need Jesus, and that's the world that Jesus came into. And the thing is, what Herod did is exactly what we all do. Every last one of us try to control God. We try to tell God. And we go to great lengths to deny and control and cajole God. And tell God, no, we're going to do what we want, and we rage against all the things that God tells us to do. And what Herod did is nothing more than just a reflection of what we all end up doing in our life and what we want, which is control. We want to control, and we want to tell God, and we want it our way, and that control ultimately leads to death. Which is to say that whenever we decide to do it not God's way, whenever we decide to do it our way, that is the very definition of sin. Sin can be broken down real simple, right? If God is over here and we're going towards God, then that is good. And anything that goes away from God, that is evil, that is bad, that is sin. And so when we decide that we're going to take control and we're going to go our way, it looks like what the world does. Control, death, sin. This is why God came into the world. This is why Jesus came into the world. Little baby Jesus had the 3 gifts. I know you all know the 3 gifts, right? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. What is myrrh? Well, yeah. You know what myrrh is? Myrrh is actually it's the sap of a tree that grows in Ethiopia. You put this sap into nard. Nard. What is nard? Nard's like a big oily. Think of Crisco. Okay. Now you're getting close. You mix this scent with this nard. You got myrrh. What do you do with it? Well, in John, Nicodemus took it, 100 pounds of the stuff, to cover Jesus' dead body. So could you imagine going to a baby? We have a few babies on the burner right now. I'm checking my phone, seeing if they're going to pop. Could you imagine if I showed up and I said, I got you a gravestone. Happy birth. What? Pastor Ryan, what are you doing, man? But this is exactly what they did. These wise men came with myrrh, the thing you would put on someone who had died. Of course, Jesus came into the world, and what happened? As soon as he came into the world, Holocaust. His very presence caused the man who was in power to shriek with fear and pull every string he had to end all of the lives of the children in hopes that he might thwart God. And of course, Jesus came into the world to mount a cross. The cross is the very symbol of Roman control. They would take those who were killed on the cross and they would put them in prominent places so people could see as these people slowly died. It was the torture device for the Roman Empire to control people by giving them, their people, a slow and a painful death. So when we see Jesus and we see all these great and happy things, we have to realize that Jesus, his very presence, is surrounded by death from the beginning and the middle and the end. And that all of this death is just the world trying to exert its control, because the only thing you and I could possibly do, the most extreme thing that we can do is deprive someone of their life. Ha! I will control your life by ending it. And this is what the world does, and here is no exception. Stop the life. You stop the life, you stop the power, you stop everything. Now you're in control. Now see, the problem here is that we think that we have control. We think that somehow we can affect God, that we can tell Him. And the reality is that nothing is outside of the realm and reach of God, up to and including death. Thanks be to God. That's the power of Jesus, is that He was able to come into the world, that we tried to stop Him, that humans decided that they were going to kill Him, that they mounted on the cross, and they put a spear into His side, and He was already dead. Ha-ha, we won, and nope, ha-ha, thanks be to God, we didn't win. Now that means everything is inside the scope of God, because if even death is not something that God is scared of, then even the smallest things are up for debate. Like those things you say to you, the people in front of you as you drive, God hears those. Yeah. The intent, I love this, the intent, not the reality, not the end result, the intent with which you claim your tax exemptions. Yeah, I wrestle this one all the time with I had to go find a tax accountant who understood that I wasn't trying to cheat. That was a difficult thing to have a conversation with. Yeah, all those little things that you do that you think no one sees them except God. All those little things that no one sees, God sees them when you go the little extra mile. I wanted to have a picture at this moment about what I find to be the most beautiful gift anyone can give another person, and they didn't have it on the internet. Can you imagine? I looked, so I'm just going to have to describe it to you. It's a toilet paper roll that's already on the roll, but hasn't been opened yet. So someone put it on there and they didn't need it. They put it on there for someone else. I think there's a lot to be learned about toilet paper. That is the most beautiful thing, that little thing that someone did where they put the toilet paper on the roll and they didn't even need it. God sees you do that. Why did you do that? You did it because you had love, you had care for someone else. Those little things that nobody else knows that you did, God sees those too. The way that you're dedicated to your faith, I don't know, like showing up on New Year's morning. Can we talk about our drummer? Oh, you didn't know you were going to be in the sermon. That's not Steve Baringo. No, Steve Baringo's hanging out in Disney World, right? Isn't that where he is? Yeah. And everybody else in the band, I think, nobody got to bed before midnight tonight. Those little things, those are what God sees. Those are the dedications. The years that you would put in to this congregation, to raising up our children so they might go out into the world to be Christians in the world, you're probably not going to get the thanks for that. But those souls will sing your praise when they're singing God's praise because they know Him. Those failures that you make, and then you suck up your pride and you ask for forgiveness, God sees those. Those are hard things to do. And it's those little things that make what it is to be a Christian a difficult thing. But it is those things that we say, well, I'm going to kill my ego, and I'm going to seek first God's kingdom. The problem is we are so susceptible to the world we live in. Thank God we don't live in war-torn areas. Thank God that we have blessings on top of blessings. None of us are starving. None of us are looking for heat. None of us are trying not to be shelled or bombed. None of us have to worry about driving down 17 and improvised explosions going off. What a wonderful and a beautiful world that we live in. And that world, it forms us. That's the reality, is that we live in the world and it forms us. And one of the biggest problems that we have is that we are so blessed. It's an odd thing to think about. But when we're so blessed, when you have so many options, when you don't have to care, then that becomes another way in which you die, in which you decide that you can have your way, and I can have mine, and I don't care what anybody else has to say because I have the means. And then Jesus doesn't have anything to do in my life because I don't have to pray for him for my food. When we sit down and we thank God for our daily bread, and then we look that we're eating whole grain bread and we don't have any of the high salt contents and we have more vegetables than we'd like on our plate, we should really give thanks for the medicine that taught us that we need to have all of this edamame and quinoa. And instead we gripe that we wish we could have bacon-wrapped bacon. These things, these blessings are the ways in which we kill God in our life. That we say, I don't need you, Jesus. What I really need, and fill in the blank with whatever the things that we decide that we need. This is the other reason why God came into the world. He came into the world to show us love. He came from heaven into our life to be human, to show us love. And he came and he suffered all of those things and he died on the cross so that we would know that he really does love us. Because you can't say love, you have to do love. Love is an expression, it's a verb. It's not poetry love. It's a blister. So he did all that things, but he also came in here to show us that he is God. That he is truly 100% God, and that all the ways that we might try to kill him in the world, and we do, he doesn't care. He'll come back, and we can be forgiven of those things. He came in to show us how much he loved us, and to show us that he is love, and that we, of all people, that people need to follow him, because we're people. And he knows what it is to be a person. We like to think that somehow, because God became a human, that we understand him. And we don't understand him at all. We like to think that because he's a human that we can tell him what to do, that he has our best interest in mind. And that means that whatever we want, that's what's best for us. And God says, no, it's exactly opposite. He came into the world not so that we would know him, but actually so that he would know us. So we would know him is great, but that he knows us is better. This is Hebrew. This is what we read. I'm going to reread it. This is 2:14. Since, therefore, the children share flesh and blood, and we do, we're all flesh and blood, he himself likewise shared the same things, so that through death he might destroy the one who has power of death, that is, the devil. And don't kid yourself. That's why he came, and we are under attack every day. To free those who their lives were held in slavery by fear of death. For it is clear that he did not come to help angels, but the descendants of Abraham. That's us, through baptism. Therefore, he had to become like his brothers and sisters in every respect, so that he might be a merciful and a faithful high priest in the service of God, to make a sacrifice of atonement for the sin of the people. Now, all this we know, that God came, he died, so that we might have our sins forgiven. We all know this. This is Easter stuff, but here's the Christmas part, that last little bit. Listen. Because he himself was tested. And he was tested. I think we forget that Jesus was tested. Because he himself was tested by what he suffered, he's able to help those who are being tested. And I just love that, because it reminds us that Jesus didn't come into the world to remove suffering. He didn't come in the world so that there wouldn't be any pain. He isn't a human so that there wouldn't be any more trials. He came in the world so he could know what trials are, what sufferings are, what temptation is. And that he has not only a godly knowledge, but somehow an even more intimate knowledge. That we could look at that and we could say, look, there is perfection. It's possible. We all like to say, no, you can't be perfect, but that's not what Jesus said. Jesus says, no, you can be perfect. Look, I'll do it. And he says, look, I'm going to show you what it is to be perfect, and now that I know that you can't do it, I'm going to encourage you to try anyway. And I'm going to be there as you try to help you. So this New Year's, as you're setting up your resolutions to not eat bacon, rat bacon, to do all those whatevers or not do all those whatevers, here's the resolution. This is it. This is the resolution, which is your New Year's resolution is to do whatever you do and to do it with God.